Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of Chris Joneses floating out there. Would I love to add one of those guys? Heck yeah.
Well, Myles Garrett is now floating out there.
And I am ready to get hurt again. All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel, presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And gentlemen, Myles Garrett requesting a trade. Do you want him in Buffalo? I'll start with you, Mike.
If it's anything that's not totally destructive to the team in terms of like, they want 9 draft picks, they want this, that, or the other. Are you kidding me? Yes, you want this guy. They are not necessarily one player away from doing whatever they wanted. But if this is the player you get, you are taking a massive leap to what you want to do.
Yeah, I think we've all left the playoff games and left the last few seasons going, Bean's got to improve the defensive line. Myles Garrett, at his level, at his position, can fix a lot of your other flaws. And when you have a player that is that dominant, he makes everybody else's job around him easier and can help everybody next to him.
This was his 7th straight season of double-digit sacks, 29 years old. And he said the reason that he wants to be traded is not because of a contract ploy to get more money. He wants to be on a team that wins. And I said it in the open, but ready to get hurt again. Like, I honestly feel like, though, 29 years old, you see what the upside and what he could add. And you talked about how he makes everyone better. And that would be exactly this at a position of need that the Bills have spent time after time after time putting resources towards.
That
you now would have a guy that is a bona fide stud.
Oh, it's bona fide. It's bona fide.
Bona fide?
Are we?
Yeah, no. If you guys hamper me on everything.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Either way, Myles Garrett is a proven commodity.
Oh, we're just going to let that slide?
I was going to let it. I don't like to pick on little things.
I thought you could say it. It means in good faith in Latin, which I didn't really realize, but
I'm just kidding.
Is it? Did I say it wrong?
Yes.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Just lets it slide.
Yes, but she's
bona fide.
Yes.
Maybe it's my New England accent. Bona fide. I say aunt too.
Yeah,
I actually do.
Well, that's because you're more proper than we are.
My skin's crawling.
Okay.
Let's get back on task.
Let's get back on this and say, how do I put this with, first of all, the Browns are lying because they say, well, we have no plans to trade him. What are you holding on to him?
Correct.
Yeah.
Once he has said this, he wants to be traded. He's going to get traded. He's going to get paid where he goes. If you are the Browns, you have to trade him. You stink. You aren't getting any better. You need to rebuild that whole team. They have screwed it up in Cleveland. They need to rebuild it. He's 29. You can't wait a year or 2 or 3. He won't be 30 until late December. It's just past Christmas. In terms of his age, this is the time to make the trade. And the other thing is, I say while they lie, because I'm not exactly sure why, you never know when something else pops up.
Yeah.
Does Max Crosby become available?
Yep.
Do the Raiders go, you know what?
Crosby,
you want to wait on this?
Hendrickson, TJ Watt.
Right.
There are 5 big names for edge rushers that could be moved, and Micah Parsons adding into the mix as well.
You never know what Dallas is going to do in that case as a younger player too. But the idea is you want to be first to the table on this. You want everybody involved in it. But I would make the point, and I want to know what you guys think. I don't think everybody either will or should be involved in it. He's an awesome player.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Probably the best at his position in the NFL. But he's 29. He's going to cost you multiple draft picks. And it has to be a team that already has talent, including a quarterback, because you can't give up a bunch of ones or a couple of ones without him. So I think the competition, the real competition for the Bills are the good teams in the NFL, the really good ones who have a quarterback, but will be willing to invest multiple picks in getting him.
I think 2 things. One, if I'm the Browns, I don't want to trade him in division. So that immediately eliminates both the Ravens as well as the Bengals. So there's that. That's in my head. And then 2, if you've been struggling to draft first round players that have been productive, just trade those picks.
Do you know a GM that has struggled at landing first round picks or top end picks for defensive line?
I think there's a couple that come to mind.
So we got done talking to Brandon Bean last week. He also mentioned that the Bills are not one player away. He says if you ever have that mindset, it's a dangerous one to be in. Okay, if that's what he wants to tell us publicly. Now, I think he did kind of take one of those big swings with Von Miller a few years ago. Von was older. I think the Bills were at a different place at the time. Now, Bean was also asked by Matt Perino of the Shout podcast, Syracuse Upstate.com, and he was asked a lot about Chris Jones, was asking Bean about Chris Jones because Bean mentioned time and time again how Chris Jones dominated that game and he's a game changer. And we've talked about it on this channel. Do you need a game changer on defense? So Perino asked Bean if you need a guy like a Chris Jones to get over the hump. And this is what Bean had to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of Chris Joneses floating out there. I get the question, yes. But where do you land that? I don't know many teams that are going to hand you a Chris Jones or a game wrecker. They're probably sewed up. You know what I mean? Like you look around, there's not a lot of players that make 28 to 30 some $1 million a year, which I think is kind of what those high end defensive players are making. We're not ever picking in the top 5, 10. Like not to say you can never get those guys. Chris Jones actually fell to the second round. And we'll turn over every stone we can to find them. But would I love to add one of those guys? Heck yeah, I would. But we have a cap. We pick where we pick. You got to make the best, of what you got. And again, we would love to do that if that player's out there.
Well, things have changed.
Yeah.
And there is now a defensive end, the reigning defensive player of the year, who is now floating around.
Do you guys agree with me that the Browns have to trade him?
Yes.
So there's a few things I was looking up at. Obviously, Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, said at his season-ending press conference, they have no intention of trading him. You can put that on the record. He wants him to retire as a Brown. Now, the thing that gets sticky and what I really respect about Myles Garrett is in his statement that he released, Barry made some comment about the fact that Garrett wants to go from Cleveland to Canton. And in Garrett's statement, he said, I want to go from Cleveland to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's a shot at your GM. So we already have discourse.
Yeah.
Now, like to your point, Mike, if you keep him around, Mike.
Discord. Discourse is conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. Oh, Jenna, you pronounced bona fide wrong.
I always thought it was bona fide.
It is.
It's not.
You know what word I said wrong? And I thought it was proverb.
Really? Wait, you said it on the podcast?
No.
Oh.
Well, now, yeah.
Just in life. There's a back on track as we take each other's jabs at one another. He talked about his desire to win. He also has a no trade clause. That is good news for the Bills because he's not going to want to agree to get traded to a crappy team that will give more.
Yes.
Than the Browns. We can't pass up on this offer from the Cardinals.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. Garrett can say, no, I'm not going to the Cardinals. That's good power for teams like your point, Mike, that are Super Bowl contending teams.
Yeah.
That bodes well for the Bills. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Bodes well?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. Nailed it.
Right on the money.
So I think that's good. Now, again, what do you guys think the offer will be? Because you've made the point, we were talking about this before, like it's going to be a lot, but it never usually ends up being as much as the team or as some of the media will say, like 3 first-round picks. It's not going to be 3 first-round picks.
So let's make this easy example. Let's just say it's the Buffalo Bills in the mix, and it is who would be a good, I'm trying to think of a team, Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Chicago Bears pick is in the bottom. They missed the playoffs. It's in the bottom half of the first round. So each one of their picks, bottom half, they didn't make the playoffs. What is there?
Correct.
14 teams that make the playoffs. So it's in the bottom 18. I don't know exactly where the Bears are. And I'm just using them as an example of a team that might have something going. They got this. Maybe they want to make a move. That pick is worth more than the Bills' first round pick.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So it could be for a team like the Bills. Hey, look at what they have. They have their one,
Mhm.
but they also have Minnesota's 2, and they have their own 2.
I think they have 2 3s. 2 2s and 2 3s, right? The Bills have?
Right, 2 2s and 2 3s. Right. So, but I'm saying is in terms of when the Bills are trading it, what are they picking? 20?
9th
No,
or 8th?
maybe 30th.
Yeah.
Depends.
Yeah.
Oh,
They
sorry.
have a
Yep.
better record
Bad
than the
math.
Commanders, so they'd
Yes.
be 30 in the draft.
Yeah.
So it's 30. I mean, it's almost a second round pick. If the
Yeah.
New England Patriots were involved, they have what, the 3rd pick and
Right.
the 35th.
But that goes back to my point of
Myles Garrett can say, I don't want to go there.
I don't want to go there.
No.
So I think it makes the Bills' picks more valuable because there's only a few teams that I would consider that are in the mix as the Super Bowl contending teams
Yes.
that are in the market for paying a high-end pass rusher, game-changing difference maker.
Yes, because if you look at it with a team that is building, even like the Commanders, who has a quarterback in their building, they got a lot of holes on that
Yeah.
team. And that kid propped them up. Now, would he help them? Absolutely. But are they willing to give up multiple ones when they're building up the team? I think the Bills have done a good job of building up good players. They're going for a great player.
Yeah.
And if they're going for it, that's what we're talking about them doing. But yes, it makes a lot of sense for a team like the Bills.
It also makes a lot of sense maybe for a team like the Eagles, though.
Yeah, it's funny because the Eagles have done both. They've drafted well,
Mhm.
but they've also traded ones.
Mhm.
When they got A.J. Brown, they made that move, and they've done it. If you look at their roster, and hey, who knows how the Super Bowl goes?
Yeah.
If the Super Bowl goes where they can't get the pressure they want,
Yep.
because they let Hassan Reddick go, and they've done pretty well there, but it's not a dominant player.
Yeah.
You could make an argument that is the glaring hole on that team
Mhm.
to say, we don't have this. And they seem to be able to make it work in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Now, I don't know if they'd be willing to give up that much. Maybe they would. I don't know if they would. But a team like that, I always think you made the point about the Ravens. I think the Ravens are one of those teams that always seems to bring in those veteran defensive players. But this ain't free agency.
Yeah.
You got to get the Browns to make
Yeah.
the trade to you and see him twice a year.
So what would you think would be the price then?
I do think it does start at 2 number ones. I don't see any way around that.
I don't think it does. I think it's a 1+.
Now, if that's the case,
I think it's a 1+.
and you saying spread those picks around a little bit, a 1 and a 2
1 and
this year,
1
and
and
a 2 next year.
1 and 2 and a 3 next year, something like that. Like he is, again, unbelievable player. But whenever they come out and he's not a quarterback. So when they come out and say we want all these picks, it usually ends up being somewhere below that. Like it's when they talk about wide receivers. Oh, first pick, it's never usually there. So I think Spot Track had somebody thinking that could be like a 1, a 3, and a 6.
Ooh.
So like again, you'd run up to do that.
Yeah.
Now
the Browns are going to want, because they're taking a big hit cap-wise.
they're getting boned. Like
dead cap.
They're going to get hit with dead cap.
Well, they've pushed that money down.
Are
Correct.
they getting bona fide?
No, but correctly said.
Okay, sorry.
They're going to take that hit, but
It's not a crazy amount that the team that's accepting him is going to get. You're going to rework his contract. So you're not inheriting a bad contract. You're going to rework the contract to what you want it to be.
you want it to be, but you're giving them more too, because you're making
100%.
this. It's probably a 4-year deal with a lot of guarantees in the
Yeah.
140 range.
Yeah, that's what Spot Track has guesstimating is a 4-year, $140 million contract.
Yeah. And Jenna made the point, like his consistency at a mega high level is, put it to you this way, when they got Vaughn, now Vaughn had made plays in the Super Bowl. He had played well. He had been hurt 2 years before that.
Yep.
But his numbers were over that period of time as an older player, older than
Vaughn or
than Myles Garrett is
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
8.5 sacks, 9 sacks, good numbers, a decent amount of pressures. This guy is 15, 16, 17 sacks.
I understand that move when the Bills made it for Vaughn because also he was a leader. He had that Super Bowl caliber experience. And I do think where the team was at, it was nice to have someone that's kind of seen the mountaintop before, who has produced at the highest level, like that type of stuff.
I was just laughing, Dan, because I could have sworn right before that happened that Brandon Beane said they wouldn't make a big move.
Yeah, because
The salary.
I
cap.
love that. I tweeted out that answer that he had to Perino's question, and it's a long answer. It's about a minute and things like that. But all I took in the beginning was, they're not floating around. And then in my tweet, I just said salary cap talk in between it, and then being like, heck yes. Like, heck yeah, I'd want that guy. So it's like, I understand Beane said, once again, they're not going to be big spenders in free agency. They're going to have to do all these things. Like, that is GM talk. That is where Brandon Beane will give you a very big ounce of truth, and then he'll fill in some other things with some GM talk around it. But like, if you don't think that he's looking at this roster and going, man, we need to get better defensive line, I don't think he'd be gun shy. Scared money don't make money, right, Jenna?
Oh, yeah.
And so if you swung and missed, and like I said, Vaughn was playing at the level, it is a freak injury. To say he tears his ACL like that happens with older players, but you can't pencil that in to go, hey, we know this guy's probably going to tear another ACL. Here, Mike, where we disagreed is I go, getting a guy like Myles Garrett or a team that'd be interested in Myles Garrett, it's a luxury. Like you said, it's not a team that is looking for a quarterback because you can't risk that draft capital.
Yeah, you can't give up ones.
Right? So I made the comparison to you. Going after Myles Garrett is like when the Eagles went after Barkley, in the sense of you've got a lot of other things filled.
Right.
You're good. And then you get this piece.
Yeah.
You may have to overpay a hair, like the Bills would have to with draft capital on top of the signing.
Yes.
But the bonus here is, or the extra that you'd have to give would be the draft capital. But Myles Garrett fixes a lot of issues that you would have in your secondary.
Yeah. And two, he has talked so much, Beane has, about like, you're never one piece away, and that is a dangerous mindset to have. I agree with that. But this is also a piece that you have been searching for a long time.
Great point.
So Dan makes a lot of golf analogies or baseball analogies.
I do.
I'm going to do a home improvement analogy.
Hit me.
So we moved to a smaller house, my wife and I, and we were doing a lot of work, and it was expensive, and I was cranky. I was kind of a jerk about it. I didn't like some of the stuff.
That doesn't sound
like
like you.
my mouth up at the absolute wrong time with my wife.
You don't know how to whisper.
Yeah. And so I was like, this isn't working. I had felt like I had made mistakes and I couldn't fix them. But there was one way I could fix a lot of what was bothering me.
The bedroom and the basement.
The basement.
Yes.
And I was like, do I want to spend this money? And then I thought, wait a minute, we're going to get storage. We're going to get laundry. We're going to have a room where my daughters come to visit. And I'm like, I have a room if I got a podcast, something. And I'm like, I can fix a lot of the things that I think we did wrong.
It's a good analogy.
Incorrectly by doing this. And then all of a sudden, the contractor who is super busy goes, hey, if you want to do this, I got a little bit of time here. That's Myles Garrett.
That's the window opening.
It is the window opening.
Oh, I didn't even
It's
mean it
Myles
like
Garrett
that, yeah.
sending out this thing going, I want to be traded. And I thought, screw it. We're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was done. And I am so happy that we did it because it sort of filled in all these other, it made the whole house better.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett makes the whole house better.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing, because you were talking about you're going to need to maybe find another safety. You may need to find a corner, things like that. I look at that secondary. I look at some of the run issues. I look at some of the things and I go, Myles Garrett makes your secondary better because he's cutting off time to the quarterback so he can't sit there and drop back and pass. So you're not covering as long. It gives you more creativity. It makes Ed Oliver better. It makes possibly Greg Rousseau better. Like things like that. Because I think Greg Rousseau, for as much as we talked about extending him, he's going to hit the market at like 24, 25 years old. He's going to get an absurd amount of money. He just is. I think he's going to price himself out of Buffalo, much like Tremaine did, because linebackers at that age, at that level of caliber, are not always at free agency at that age.
Yeah.
So I think Greg is going to get a big number.
Yeah.
And I think the Bills will go, salary cap.
Can't.
What do you think, though? I was curious what you think about Greg because you could do the 5th-year option on Greg Rousseau,
Mhm.
or you can go to him. Let's just say they made a deal for Myles Garrett, and they may need to work the cap. It's an advantage to extend Greg Rousseau.
Mhm.
2 years.
Right. Well, maybe more than that, but you spread that money out differently. The reason I say that is, or does Greg Rousseau say, I'm betting on myself
Sure.
on the other side? That's where, but the idea is that 5th-year option is a bit of an albatross on a team because it's a
Yep.
high number, all guaranteed kind
Yep.
of a thing. It's almost like a franchise tag
Correct.
for that year. So that's the part I wonder, like some players bet on themselves there and say, no, I'll take this 5th year
Mhm.
and then I'm a free agent the next year. Not that they couldn't even franchise him, but I'm just wondering if you think Rousseau's the kind of guy that if he has an opportunity to bet on himself, he bets on himself.
I don't know if he is.
Yeah.
I feel like I could see him betting on himself with the Bills under like learning from Myles Garrett and all that types of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think cash is king.
Yeah.
And I think
Oh,
that,
I know. I'm not saying he doesn't want the cash. I'm saying is there is also sometimes a team comes to you and says, hey, instead, we're on the 5th-year option. We guarantee that, but we're going to extend you. We want to do it at this number. It's a really good number.
sure.
But if you play it out and do well,
Then you're like, what? I want
Yeah.
more.
yeah,
Which
you'll
is
get a
underst-
lot more.
Yeah. So I also think too, Bean saying they're not going to be big spenders in free agency, that's fine. But if you make a move for Myles Garrett, like there are piggy banks that you can go into and restructure Josh's deal and restructure a James Cook deal, like and free up money now to pay Garrett and then worry about that stuff down the road. Like it's a little bit of that salary cap of kicking the can down the road.
It is.
Like
you need the guys that are going to be around.
Josh
Yes.
Allen.
Yes, he's the one.
Ed Oliver.
Yeah, you could do. Yes, it depends on where they are.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd say, I'm trying to think on the O-line because there's people like James Cook, you're going to want to extend.
Correct.
Mhm.
So there are certainly ways around that.
Bean's good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Bean is one of, I would say this too, for as much as he thinks Dan is wrong about the salary cap, and he said, you call me an idiot? I can't remember.
No, I don't think he said idiot. I think we said that.
Maybe.
No, he said if you don't believe, didn't he say if you don't
Oh,
believe
yeah.
in the salary
Yeah.
cap, you're
Well,
an
that's
Then he
idiot?
just
held
stupid.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
that's
that's
just
what he said.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he held up the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had conversations like that. But the fact of he is very smart at being able to manipulate it. The Howie is the best at it.
Yeah.
Howie's the best. Like the fact
Which
that
should be scary if they get in on
100%,
the Myles Garrett.
because the Eagles have the highest paid player in the top 5 at every single position. The salary cap is not real to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
It just isn't. So for everybody that says, you can make it work. And I'm saying is that you can look at Josh and say, hey, Josh, we're going to get you a pass rusher. We're going to get you a guy that can win you a game on the other side and get after Patrick Mahomes.
It is funny.
Yes.
A
Hey,
lot of times
We're going to restructure your deal. We'll give you X amount up front. We're going to work some things out.
Yeah.
it is funny that he was asked about Josh's contract.
Yes.
And I agree. I think I remember when he came to talk to us and I asked him about how do you deal with Josh's contract? Is it constant communication? And he said at the time, like, I don't sit there and talk to his agent all the time. He and Josh have a great relationship. Josh Allen is never going anywhere. I shouldn't say never. You never know what ends up happening. He is in a great spot with the Bills.
Yeah.
It's funny when people say, when he want to leave, I'm like, he is he going to Kansas City? Like, he is that close
Yeah.
to getting where he wants to go. But the idea is constant communication with Josh. Like, if there is a point where Josh and his agent are like, hey, fellas, like, where's mine?
Mm-hmm.
And this is when time to do it. That's when the Bills are going to have to be ready to do that,
Yes.
because you're going to want to do that. But you can use this time to create the space that you need to bring in a player like that.
Do you think it's more impactful and important for the Bills to get a edge rusher this season or a wide receiver one?
I say edge rusher. I think with
Yes.
Josh Allen as my quarterback,
I agree.
I
if
agree
he
with that
can
as
make
well.
Mac Hollins
Yep,
a
that's-
deep threat,
That's exactly
Well-
that's exactly what went through my head.
yeah,
I'm thinking too. It's hard to get. So Khalil Shakir was really good this year for them. Mac Hollins was really good for them this year. I would say Dawson Knox was good for them this year.
Yeah.
I feel like it's hard to get less production.
From some of the other guys.
Yeah, like those guys had.
You bet on Keon. You bet on Dalton coming back.
And
I don't know if I like those bets, but I'm saying they were not.
Curtis Samuel.
They were not impactful this year, so it's like, and they were.
Could they
in
be
AFC.
any less impactful?
Yeah, exactly.
You restructure Curtis's deal a little bit.
Yeah, they might. And
Yeah.
and he showed flashes. Like, I'm not saying Curtis Samuel is your deep threat now, but I'm saying is if I have to choose, and I don't even know who the, like, let's just say they could get DK Metcalf, right? Say Seattle. I'm just picking
Sure.
a player who's been around.
You don't love him though.
No,
Yeah.
but
I don't either,
I'm
but
picking a
yeah.
player
Yes,
who has
yes.
been a deep threat.
Yeah.
And he's gotten down the field and he's made plays. That would be great. Like, I would take that kind of player on this wide receiver group. But I think, to your point, both your points, the pass rusher is like, it's almost like, it's like you just say, here,
Yeah.
it didn't work. It didn't work. This one's going to work.
This is for the basement.
It is for the basement. That's kind of where I'm like, I got to fix what's not fixed. This isn't like, I hope it is. He would be fantastic for the Bills.
Yep.
Barring
Yeah.
injury, which you have to think about with every player.
Yeah.
He would be great because he's been great with a lousy Browns team.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so,
Again,
yeah.
I think he makes your secondary better. I think he's a defensive game wrecker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a guy that he's a Chris Jones
Yeah.
where you sit there and you go, hey, how are we going to handle Myles Garrett in Buffalo?
I think he's better than Chris Jones.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Chris Jones is
Chris Jones has
really,
had-
really good. We have seen him in big moments. We've never
Yes.
really gotten to see Myles Garrett.
In
I
really
mean,
big moments.
The Browns don't have big moments. They've been in the playoffs. They got there with Joe Flacco.
You breaking shit?
I don't know. But yeah,
They got there with Flacco.
Flacco. What did we say after the season ended? They need a weapon on offense and they need a weapon on defense.
Yeah. Well,
And a weapon on offense, I think.
this is a bazooka on defense.
Yeah.
Like, this is like,
Yeah.
and listen, if you could draft a Jared Verse who looks really good as
Yeah.
a rookie,
Yeah.
and you get him on that rookie deal, and
But
you have
Bean
him that
hasn't-
way,
Bean hasn't.
he hasn't. But at the same time, it's still as good as he is. You would want that history. If you had that guy, you would not be going after Myles Garrett.
I've
Correct,
always said it
yeah.
before. Everybody loves picks until they become players. So to sit there and go,
That's
well,
a really good. Is that your line?
yeah,
That's really good.
yeah, that was me.
I love that. That is
That was
really
me.
good.
Okay. Okay.
The
I just-
coaches set the floor, the players set the ceiling. That was not me.
Okay,
But that was
yeah.
another good one.
Yeah, that is good. But everybody loves picks till they're players is really good.
It's a bar. Mm.
Yeah.
Is that a new shirt?
Can we get a shirt for that?
What does it say?
I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
Do it.
gentlemen?
Well, we're saying this.
it.
Do it.
Okay, so what has to happen here? The Bills have to say they're interested. The Browns, and like, they
The
are
Browns
going
got
to trade him.
screwed. The Browns are screwed by the fact that Myles comes out because you're a bad team. You could use the assets that you would get back in return to rebuild. And the fact that it is now out there in the open and the no trade clause that Garrett has, they are in a very, very bad spot.
And Jenna, the other part of this that works in the Bills' favor and him going is I absolutely think the Browns would pay him an extension if he wanted the extension, which I think he does.
Mhm.
Meaning, like, I don't think it's like the Browns don't want to pay me. Like, he's been that guy that they want to keep.
Yeah.
So when I say it's not about money, it's not like Myles Garrett is sitting there going, I'm going to force the Browns to give me this
Yes.
extension. No.
He's made a lot of money. The money will
and he's going to get it from the next team.
exactly. Money is important, but he's a made man. He wants a ring.
Yeah. And he'll get it, but that's what I'm saying is he really does want, he's probably thinking, I've put a lot of snaps in this league.
Mhm.
I need a chance to go and play at the highest level.
And minus the fact that he tried to put Mason Rudolph's helmet on, he has been steady locker room presence.
I kind of wouldn't mind a little some of that on defense.
Yeah.
What did I say? What did a coach say to me once? You want your defensive lineman to be this close to getting arrested?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss
Well,
that.
Yeah, but it's
There are
it's
other
that,
ones that we
it's
had
kind of like
that Carl told us that were great.
yeah, it's kind of like you want your hockey team to be oh no, that's the Sabres. They're too nice. They don't want to bother anybody.
Oh, okay. All right. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We want to here in the chat what you're thinking about this, what you think it would cost, your initial thoughts, all that great stuff.
Is there an opinion that is, I wouldn't want Myles Garrett? I don't think so, right? It's just a matter of how much you have to give up, what you disrupt. That's the part. Like, I assume everybody would say if they just dropped him on your roster, you would love to have him. But there is some nuance to it of where you prioritize what you do, what you don't do.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear from people. The assumption is he's a great player. He's the best at his position. Every team would want him. But there is a cost to it.
Yes.
And a putting priorities in place.
And the other reason we did this video is that the Bills are right now on Bovado the favorite to land Myles Garrett. They are the favorite, it feels like, to land every single free agent.
The Bills, it feels like they're always the top of these kind of things. And yeah.
Yeah, they didn't get OBJ.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was.
They got Vaughn.
Yes, they did.
Swing again.
Were they the favorite to get Vaughn?
I don't think people. I don't know.
I can't remember, honestly.
Boy, it's just such a huge difference when it's a free agent.
Yeah.
Because then it just becomes he wants you, then done, you sign him.
Yeah. No, it's true.
It's going to take something.
All right. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We always appreciate that. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for watching the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Connors and Ferris. We'll catch you next time here.
Bonafide.
Bonafide. I really thought it was bonafide.
It's not.